Um, and just to start off, before I start sharing the slideshow, my name is Irene Mendez. I'm the Global Program Specialist here at Rice Global. I help with students marketing the courses, getting all the information about the courses out, and then afterwards, all pre-departure items are coming my way, and I share that to students and then pass them on to Paris once they go to Paris. And then Lisa, if you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll start sharing the slideshow.
Yeah, my name is Lisa Tranlu. I am Associate Teaching Professor under the Office of Research and Senior Lecturer in Chemistry. And I'm excited to be teaching the Chemistry of Cooking course for Paris next summer. And this will be my 10th year teaching it here at Rice, but my first time teaching it in Paris.
Great. Okay, let me quickly share the slideshow. Please let me know if you can see it, just to make sure we're all set.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So again, this is the information session for Chemistry of Cooking. This is going to be taught during Paris session 3, which is June 27th through July 17th of next year. This is just kind of an overview of what we're going to do today. We'll talk about the course first for a bit, and then we'll talk about the program itself. And then at the end, we will have time for Q&A. So just please hold off on your questions, and then we'll be sure to answer them at the end. And right on, and so just as a quick FYI, this is the QR code to the course web page itself, which we'll take a look at later. But I'll also add the link on to the chat at the end. And Lisa, I'll pass it on to you, and you just let me know when you want to go to the next slide.
Great, thank you, Irene. Yeah, so once again, this is my 10th year teaching this course here at Rice University, but my first time considering teaching it in Paris. And upon a lot of reflection, it actually made a lot of sense, and it was actually quite easy for me to be able to conceptualize how I can outfit the existing course into the Paris Center next summer. So what you have in front of you are some really important information about the philosophy and the approach of the course. Simply put, it is a 100 level elective course here at Rice that is open to all undergraduate students, no matter what major you are, what year you are, how much background knowledge you have in chemistry or in the culinary arts. Because it's really meant to provide students a way to learn about science and learn about chemistry in a much more relatable way, because at the end of the day, every person in this world has to eat and probably knows somebody, if not themselves, who has to cook for them. So it's really being able to relate scientific concepts on an everyday basis and hopefully empower students to make more educated decisions in their everyday lives when they deal with food and cooking. So as you can see at the very top, the main topics and skills covered in this course include examining science in terms of the composition, transformation, and consumption of food. So this does satisfy the distribution 3 requirement here at Rice. But even more so on top of that, it was recently approved as an analyzing diversity course because in this class, we do also explore different cultural connections, both on a food level, but also a philosophical level. And so what better way to highlight this than in Paris, where Paris, just like Houston, has a really rich, diverse community. So in this iteration in Paris, we plan to have multiple culinary activities on site at the Paris Center, in addition to off-site excursions in partnership with local experts, both chefs and scientists, to help students more deeply engage with the material. In terms of the learning objectives of this course, I try to keep it short here, but it really does build upon one another. So starting from the very basics, the least I can hope for students to get out of this class is to be able to recognize key scientific concepts through the lens of food and cooking. But even more than that, through the activities that we do and the excursions that we plan to have, hopefully students will have opportunities to apply their basic knowledge in different everyday contexts or in real-time contexts. And then even more so, I want my students to be able to take their knowledge, not only apply it, but maybe even use it and leverage it to create their own recipes or conceptualize new ideas under food and cooking. And like I said before, hopefully this course will allow students to more deeply explore something about themselves, whether it is about their own cultural values, their traditions and identities, but be able to relate those concepts to the community around them and be able to relate to the people and food and science, all in very fun, different ways. And then finally, but I think most importantly, being able, again, to really have an opportunity to connect all of these interdisciplinary fields together, right? It's not often that we have opportunities for students to engage very deeply, not only in the sciences, but also the arts and in the social sciences as well. But once again, it is a 100 level course. So the bare minimum expectation that I have is that students enter this class with high school chemistry knowledge. They should not have taken, or do not have to have taken an intro level science class here at Rice or at the college level. I will cover all of that, but in a very different way in this class. But once more, it is a distribution 3 eligible course as well as an analyzing diversity eligible course. Next slide, please. So I've already touched a little bit about this, but how will the city of Paris be integrated into the course curriculum? Well, in my opinion, that's where the excitement really happens, where I can leverage the city and its people and its resources to help bring the science and chemistry to life. So in addition to having on-site activities where I plan to have little afternoon quote unquote lab sessions with the students to cook things, to illustrate different scientific concepts by way of experiential learning opportunities. I also plan to embed throughout the 3-week program opportunities for students to engage with Paris experts, whether they are local scientists, as well as chefs and restaurant owners in the city. In addition to perhaps even tour guides who are extremely knowledgeable of the city itself. But most importantly, dedicating plenty of time for the students to individually and independently explore the city, once more through the lens of science and food. That will hopefully all culminate together into a really exciting final presentation for the class. Another question that I was asked to highlight is, what is my teaching style? And so what you see at the very bottom of this slide is just a little bit of my teaching philosophy. And I hope that you kind of see this philosophy throughout the course structure as I'm presenting it today. But I really do design all of my classes around these 4 pillars. The first and most important, I think, as a scientist and as an educator, I have a responsibility to help equip students with a really strong understanding and conceptual foundation in the sciences, but more importantly, be able to help students make connections from within science and beyond science. My next responsibility is to treat my students as equal partners in learning, and that requires a safe and engaging environment in which students can really construct and reinforce and apply their knowledge in a comfortable way, and then in a safe way, intellectually safe way. And in turn, that allows me to learn a lot from my students as well. And I'm really looking forward to that in this Paris experience. And that really segues into the third pillar here, where I hope to instill in my students a strong sense of curiosity, creativity, confidence, and community. And so a lot of the activities that we do are very much group focused, class focused, but also dedicating some time for a lot of individual reflection so that all levels of curiosity and creativity can be engaged. But even more so beyond that, I think one of the cool things about Paris is that, sure, I will be spending multiple hours with you in the classroom, but we're all there together in a new city together as Rice community members. So I can't wait to be able to connect with you on a personal level as well as a professional level beyond the classroom itself. Next slide. So what you'll see here for the next 3 slides is a quick outline of the schedule of the class. My philosophy of this class in particular is that I will dedicate half of the day equipping students with the theory that is really important to be able to relate to the experiential learning opportunities that we hope to engage during the afternoon of every single day. And that's quite similar to how I have designed the class here on campus at Rice for the past 10 years. So starting at the very beginning, it is a little unusual that this session is starting on a Friday, but I think that might actually be a really cool opportunity for us to not only talk about a course introduction, but also introduce you to the city itself. So I'm working out the fine details of actually having a local food guide to introduce us to the city by way of giving us a city market tour, which will be very instrumental to the final presentation, as we'll talk about later on in a few slides. But I pretty much see that the city itself is our lab, quote unquote, or our specimen, that we will be able to apply our knowledge in theory into practice. But the subsequent days for this first week actually quite closely follows a traditional chemist, like intro chemistry course, where we still start off talking about matter and measurement. What is an atom? What are particles? And how do they interact with each other? And how do we count them by concentration measurements and stoichiometry? But how do they interact with each other with regards to chemical reactions? But on a biological and physiological sense, how do molecules interact with our bodies and our senses? And then when it comes to chemistry and cooking, we do have to have a conversation about the importance of energy and how heat must be transferred, because that's really what cooking is all about, transforming food by way of manipulating the energy and the heat transfer between the heat source and the food itself. And how do you leverage those motions and particle movements to do what you want in the kitchen by way of diffusion and osmosis? So those are the theory concepts that we're going to be covering during the first week. But as you can see in the next column there are going to be complementary excursions that will hopefully highlight each of these sets of days. So as you can see for matter and measurement, I think what better way, I can't think of any better way than to highlight the importance of ratios and ingredients than to bake cookies and see the outcome of how adjusting different ratios of ingredients or manipulating the way that you adjust a base recipe for a cookie could profoundly impact the outcome of the cookie itself. And that's very similar to chemical reactions. And that requires little to no cooking experience. And so that's a really great, fun way to get things started. But then we'll start building a little bit of kitchen skills by highlighting sensory perception by making sauce vierge, which is, here in Houston, we kind of think of salsa fresca as the equivalent to this French sauce, but it's a wonderful way to highlight flavor development and perception by way of just chopping up different vegetables and putting it into a sauce. So again, students will get that hands-on experience and be able to tie these scientific concepts while they're making the sauce. And then for that third day, or Wednesday, July 2nd, I'm hoping to take students out to visit some bakeries, including Poilâne, which is a historic bakery in Paris, where they're still using a traditional wood oven to bake the breads that they're most famous for. And then we hopefully will end the week, or towards the end of the week, with a group dinner, where I hope that we can use all of these concepts, use all of these skills to come over to my apartment in Paris to cook a meal together to enjoy. Next slide. All right, second week, we're starting to build upon some more higher concept culinary concepts and scientific concepts. The first week was all about basic scientific principles. Now we're getting to more complex reactions and more complex materials. So at the very beginning here, or at the very top, we were dealing with colligative properties and how phase transitions and phase equilibrium can really impact different textures and outcomes of different foods. And again, a really great set of examples in the culinary world are the process of making ice creams and chocolates. So simply melting or freezing these two media can have very profound differences in the things that we enjoy. And so I hope to take students out to different chocolatier shops as well as ice cream shops to really understand those nuances. I'm going to skip to that Tuesday. So now we're going to look at like foams and gels and polymers and emulsions. And so I'll hopefully have opportunities for students in the afternoon to try their hand at making these what we call modernist materials in cuisine, which will segue into Wednesday here, where I hope to line up Professor Hervé Thies, who's considered the father of molecular gastronomy, and he's currently actually still in Paris. And so that's a really, really fun, unique opportunity for us to leverage while at the Paris Center. And then we'll talk a little bit more about different reactions, including acid-base reactions, Browning reactions, which are very ubiquitous in cooking, as well as reduction oxidation reactions too. But then, as you'll see this second week, we'll also dedicate a lot of time for open-ended, independent exploration of the city for students to start preparing for the final presentation, which I'll talk about on the final slide. And you can go ahead to the final slide there. So this week, at least in terms of lecture content, I consider this final portion as case studies in chemistry of cooking. So when I think of cooking and how science is related, a lot of people relate it immediately to baking, relate it immediately to how do you cook meats and other proteins, as well as fermentation, whether it be about wine making or cheese making. And all of these things are very, very popular in Paris. And so we'll talk about each of those case studies and complement each of those topics with an afternoon excursion, whether it is to try out Northern African cuisine and try out tagines as a way to cook proteins. Try our hand at making macarons at a local culinary school there with their wonderful facilities nearby Paris Center. And then finally, you know, Paris is known for wine and cheese. And so being able to visit one of the only vineyards in city proper and perhaps taste some wine there too and enjoy some cheese, what better way to end the semester there? But as you can see on Thursday, July 17th is our final presentation. This will be a new experience for me. Traditionally here at Rice with a 15-week semester, I actually expect my students to develop enough culinary skills as well as scientific skills to create and execute and cook a dish for judges to evaluate. But since we only have 3 weeks together in Paris, I can't possibly expect my students to learn, you know, how to be very proficient in the kitchen. But as a really great substitute, I think it'd be really fun to host a potluck. So giving students the opportunity throughout the 3-week program to explore the city independently, but really reflect on what one dish or what one ingredient that really, really resonates with them in terms of how they can connect that dish to the science and the cultural concepts that we'll cover in class, and maybe about themselves too. So that on the final day of class, we will host what we call an auberge espagnole, which is basically a potluck. During which students will have funds to be able to curate these foods, bring it back to the Paris Center, we'll enjoy a meal together. And during that meal, every single student will have the opportunity to give a short presentation about the science and the culture behind each dish. And I can't think of a better way to capstone this class. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. Personally, I have only been to Paris once. But I think this class will be a really great opportunity to learn so much about the city, and I can't wait to learn from the students as well.
Thank you, Lisa. I would have loved to take a chemistry class like this when I was in college. It sounds amazing. So we're really excited that it's part of the Paris Center courses this summer. I'm just going to talk really quickly about the program itself. Just as a reminder, this is Rice Credit. This is not like a study abroad where you have to transfer credits or anything like that. You register like a regular course, and it's all Rice Credit. Classes are in English, obviously, with a Rice professor. For this course, you'll be earning 3 credits, and there is financial aid available to financial aid eligible students. And on top of that, if you receive financial aid or not, you're still able to apply for Rice Global Tuition and Travel Awards. Our application has a question about need, and we just want you guys to just be clear on what your need would be in order to make this work. and our office really tries our best to help you get to Paris. So just remember to answer that question if that is something that you're looking for. And again, what's really nice about this program is that they're 3 weeks long, so you can do an international experience during the summer, but also have the availability to do an internship or a job during the summer or something, else that you're interested in, since it's only 3 weeks. Again, session 3, June 27th through July 17th. The Paris Center is where you're gonna take classes, but also, like Lisa said, we do want Paris to be the classroom. That's one of the biggest parts of our program that we look for when we're choosing courses. So we want you to use Paris as the classroom as well. But we do have a lovely center where you can do like the class portion as well. It's located in the Marais, which is a very hopping side of town. There's a lot of museums near, just within walking distance. There's a lot of shops. It's a great location. You wouldn't even believe that this amazing historic building is nestled right in the middle of this. But it is, and you open the doors and you basically are transported to a different era almost. It's just such a wonderful historic building. So that's where you'll be studying. Again, who can apply? All Rice undergraduate students with knowledge of high school chemistry. This, again, like Lisa said, this satisfies D3 and the analyzing diversity requirements for undergraduate students. The tuition cost is $1,800 per credit hour, and this is a 3 credit hour course. What that covers is you do get housing for all 3 weeks. We have couple residences in Paris, and each of those residences has their own apartments basically. So you would have your own apartment. You wouldn't have to have a roommate. You have your own apartment with its own bathroom, its own small kitchen, and just the place to sleep and little desk area. You also have will be given a Metro card for all 3 weeks. So you can get all around Paris with that Metro card. It's really easy to do that in Paris. You just Metro and walking is the best way to get around Paris, really. So it'll be helpful just during the excursions and also during your own time. The course also covers all of these excursions and activities that are planned. And on top of that, you also have 3 group meals for the course, and then travel insurance. We're also working to see if we can add something else that could help financially to the program, but that's still being it's under approval. So anything else that we add will be listed on the web page. So just take a look at that. But if you are wondering on any updates, feel free to send me an email at pariscenter@rice.edu. And then, like I said, financial aid, if you're eligible to receive financial aid, you can get up to 9 credit hours a summer for 2 summers at 50% the tuition rate. I work with the financial aid office directly. So if you apply, I get, I basically meet with them and we go through all the students to see how much financial aid you actually do have available to you. And I will list that on the award letter once you're accepted. So you know exactly how much you get. So you really don't have to, you can always reach out to them just to find out on your own, but you will know that as soon as you're accepted, you'll know exactly the amount that you have available. And then on top of that, if you do apply for that additional assistance from Rice Global, again, these are both tuition and travel awards. It's not merit-based. We really just want you to let us know what it is that you would need to get to Paris. And our office has funds, and we really try to make it work for as much as we can. So we really want to get you guys there. So just be really clear again about what your need is. And then in that acceptance letter, that is also included how much you're awarded as far as additional assistance from Rice Global. So that gives you you- so at that point, you'll know how much you have available to make this work. You get a week to decide to see if you can do this program. On top of that, like while you're looking at this program, you're welcome to reach out to me and I can talk to you about other pockets of money that are available at Rice itself, just to see if there's other ways to find additional funding if that is needed. And just again, this is the QR to the course webpage. And the application deadline is January 31st of next year. So make sure you take a look at everything during the break and really apply before that deadline. For any questions, feel free to always reach out to me at paracenter@rice.edu, whether it's about the course or the program. I'm sure I can send any questions over to Lisa. I do believe her email is also listed on the webpage in the syllabus, so feel free to reach out as needed. But let me show you guys what the webpage looks like. So that QR code will take you directly here, and this is the course webpage. You can find it in our main website, global.rice.edu. This just has request information, which will link you directly to that email, paracenter@rice.edu. This will have this information session recorded will be posted here, and then you can immediately apply by clicking here. It takes you directly to the application. So it's all right there at the front. But if you scroll down, you can read more about a lot of the stuff that we talked about today, and the course details. And down here, you'll find that draft syllabus I was talking about. So you can take a look at that more deeply and like really understand what's going to be part of the course. And then just another thing is this can also link you back to the our program main page, which has a lot more information if you just want to learn about what the program entails. Again, this will take you to all the courses that are going to be taking place this summer, including this course. This FAQs page has information for prospective students. So if you're looking at this program and you have a question, it might already be answered here. Once you're admitted, there's a lot of pre-departure information and also information about what to expect after arriving in Paris. We also have this really handy travel guide. Once you're accepted, you'll be given access to that, and it's just a much bigger comprehensive guide about all things Paris, living there, where, you know, a bunch of information that can help you get around Paris. But we also know that sometimes that's hard to digest. So we do have a smaller, like more easier and digestible site about where you'll live and you'll learn. For example, you can watch this video. It shows you what the housing apartments look like, as well as the Paris Center itself. Just some information about what to expect when you're living in Paris and some tips of places to go, French etiquette, and then just some quick common French phrases. So we do have a lot of resources available for students. The other thing to know is that when you're in Paris, all the residences will have RAs. So we'll have like 3 RAs available to you. So they are fluent French speakers, so they can help you with any questions you may have about getting around, where to get groceries, or you know, just anything that may come up. They're there to help. They usually have office hours for the students during their sessions. So, or they will, not usually, they will. And then on top of that, we also have staff at the center. And again, they're fluent French speakers. They live there, and they're there to help with whatever is needed. They'll be arranging all these excursions and making sure you're ready as you go out on to explore the city. And that is it for me. Does anyone have any questions? No. Well, if something comes up, just feel free to send an email again to paracenter@rice.edu. And we're really excited for this course. So we hope you apply and tell your friends. And thank you so much for listening to this presentation.
Thank you.
Mhm.